Hello, and welcome again to the Andrew Richter Show. I'm your host for today. My name is Dennis Holman, and on my left is Andrew Richter, a face you're all familiar with, and candidate for mayor of the city of Crystal in 2012.
Sounds good, don't it?
Yeah,
You got my vote.
Doesn't it? I'm sorry, doesn't it?
On my right is Jason Bradley, another concerned citizen.
And he'd have my vote if he ran for anything.
Well, I'm not.
Okay.
Too busy with community solutions.
you're
I'm
still
not
young.
doing anything.
Okay, you people out there may have heard something about the 2030 plan, and what we're gonna do is help to reveal a little bit about what that plan is. We're gonna let you know a little bit about how it's gonna affect you, and what are the grand design that is driving the 2030 plan. Let's start with Andrew.
Okay, well, what citizens need to know is the 2030 plan, I think there's a perception out there it's all about transportation.
Oh.
That it's all about,
You mean it's more than that?
oh, it's much more than that. This is an all-encompassing thing. It's basically conceived by the state working with the Met Council, which is their arm to implement this. Then the Met Council pushes the top down to the park districts, the counties, the cities, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But this is all about transportation. Now, transportation includes public transit, highways, county roads, you name it, housing, aviation, which is an issue here in Crystal because MAC, which is the Metropolitan Airports Commission, technically runs the reliever airports, of which Crystal is, regional parks and trails, and wastewater and surface water, which are two separate things. Now, they all have a 2030. 2030, by the year 2030, we mean that these things are to be implemented. The biggest arm, and we don't have time to get into all of them, but the biggest arm is transportation. Mm-hmm. And the transportation is basically public transit is largely what they focus on. So the light rail, the buses, all of that is, and then land use around them is all part of the 2030 goals. So their master plan for transit is to double by the year 2030 the amount of people taking public transit. Public transit numbers have been stagnant, shall we say, for the last 4 or 5 years. But it's not stopping them from building anything. They keep building and building and spending, whether you ride them or not.
Well, and here's the thing. They say in the Metro Council paperwork there that we're going to have 3.5 million people in the metro area by 2030, and that's a possibility. But they anticipate that 150,000 people are going to go and then take public transportation. But if we look at the numbers, and this is over a period of time where we've instituted the North Star line and things like that, where the numbers have fluctuated a little bit, but they haven't really grown. I mean, they've stayed kind of in the 80 to 90,000 range.
Well, there's been about, since 2007, there's been about a 3 or 4% increase. Mm-hmm. But when you take into account that the North Star line opened up in 2009, and what all the geniuses predicted, they're 22% in 2010 under what they predicted for ridership. Yet the Central Corridor, and if you don't know what that is, that's the light rail between, and believe me, I went to the Gopher football game, I've seen it. From the capital to the U of Minnesota, it's about 9 miles or so, I think. And you should know the North Star line cost $317 million and costs $17 million a year to operate.
Yeah.
Is that a total figure, or is that?
I don't, the 317 million, I can't get any information on where that all came from. I got a few different sources that said 317 million.
Okay, I guess what I'm asking is, well, the riders pay all of that
No.
operating expense, right?
No.
I mean, it's a break even
Not even
kind of a
close.
thing.
No,
or they
it-
make a little money.
It says right in their 2030 plan that they want to spend between $8 and $8.7 billion between now and 2030, and that the projected operating costs exceed the projected revenues.
Exceed. That means a loss, not
Yeah.
a profit.
And
Yes.
That means a loss. So who makes up the loss?
Well, it's where they get their money: state aid, property taxes, to which you probably got your property tax statement in November. You'll notice on there, like me, I'm paying the Met Council $35 a year, and I have no representation on the Met Council.
I got you beat by about $1.50.
Oh.
Are you talking taxation without representation?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Didn't somebody fight a revolution about something like that?
That's right. And that was over stamps, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was over the stamps, right?
But the point is that this is an awful lot of money, or what they'll call it, an investment. And so far, I don't know how anybody can claim this has been a success.
Well, it certainly relieved a lot of traffic congestion.
yeah.
Can you buy that one?
No.
No.
All that work that they did to 100, I'm still sitting in traffic if I ever come up any later than 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
Well, and you know what they want to do is put more things like MN Pass in.
Yes.
Like on 394, we have to pay. It's basically a toll road.
Oh, take out more lanes
Yes.
and get
Make a
people to
separate
pay
one.
for them.
It's basically a toll
Yeah.
road. Now, they don't
Basically
call
it
it that, but that's pretty. And of course, the Min Pass thing gets scanned, so they know where you are. There'll be a camera, so they can keep tabs on you and how much you use it and all that. Put it in some database. But when you talk about the light rail, the Central Corridor is due to open in 2014. So University Avenues, if you're a freshman at the U right now, you'll be graduated before you can ride the thing. And the Southwest Corridor, which is roughly Minneapolis to the Eden Prairie, Chanhassen area, is slated. That's still, I think, it's still in the planning phase. But 2018 is what they predict as when that will be ready to open. And I know you're going to drive all the way down to Eden Prairie and go into
So I can
Minneapolis
catch
so you
it?
can be green. Yeah, I know
So
you're
I
gonna
can
do
catch
that.
it. Yeah, right.
And then worse is the development around the light rail, because a lot of their housing priorities are to build around the Hiawatha line, to build around the North Star line, and it's all in an effort to force people to use the light rail. Because look, you mentioned it already, Dennis. Light rail doesn't pay for itself. There's no public transit on Earth that pays for itself. So the only way they can justify this cost is to to try to do everything they can to force you to ride it.
Well, according to the Metro Council, I mean, most of the land use in the metro area does not support transit. And for them to get the federal funding that they need, our tax dollars, free money from the federal government, we have to promote transit-efficient land use. And we have to promote alternatives to driving, like carpooling, walking, biking, telecommuting. I mean, they want you to...
Is that talking while driving?
I guess it is.
Maybe we need to get the Jetsons cars and ride in the sky. Maybe that's the way to do it.
But there's so many different federal regulations that they have to follow. So basically, Washington, D.C. is telling Crystal, in effect, by the time we get down to the end of this and explain it all, here's what you have to do in your community, although we know nothing about your community, for you to get this money to make your neighborhood what we think is better.
Right.
Yeah,